Discover prototypical track and turnouts with the Roadmaster series from Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. Proudly made in the United States, Oak Hill's handcrafted turnouts provide unparalleled detail and accuracy, giving your layout museum-quality track work at an affordable price. Whether fully built or in easy-to-assemble kit form, Roadmaster provides all the details of real track. Looking for a custom piece of track work? Oak Hill can help with custom turnouts, diamonds, crossings, and more. Check out all of their offerings on their website, ohrtracksupply.com. If you're looking to bring more realism to your layout industries, look no further than tullymodels.com, the home of Southern Tier Grain Modeler Supply and Steel Mill Modeler Supply. With models to fit steam, transition, and diesel eras, Kevin Tully has you covered with all of the components you'll need to take your grain and steel mills to the next level. Check out the entire catalog at tullymodels.com. Attention railroad fans! 1810 Designs is here to enhance the hobby with handcrafted works of art made just for you. From classic locomotive railheads to custom logos for your railroad, or maybe just good old railroad signs, they bring the spirit of the rails into your home, office, or train room. Visit 1810designs.com today and bring the railroad home. That's 18ten designs.com. ATLP Extra is our monthly newsletter delivered right to your inbox each month. Sign up for free at aroundthelayout.com/newsletter. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Around the Layout, where model railroaders come to tell their story. My name is Ray Arnott. So glad you could join us. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the NERx. That's the Northeastern Region of the NMRA's virtual convention. And joining me by phone due to some technical issues, including an internet issue, is Chuck Diljak. Chuck, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Ray. It's good to be here. I've listened to your show for quite a few years now, and I've always enjoyed it. And it's just a strange feeling to actually be on your show for the first time.
Well, I certainly appreciate you listening, and glad you were able to join us to talk about the NERx. Again, is the virtual convention, Northeastern Region, NMRA. Why don't you start by telling us your role with the NERx, Chuck?
Well, my role is really in some of the publicity for the NERx. Posting things on Facebook and getting emails out to the members and anybody else who subscribes to our emails. But the other role I have is actually developing the model showcase that we have during NERx, where members or any member or any viewer can send in pictures of their models or prototype photos, and I put them together into video segments that are shown each night. So that's kind of my role in that, but it's really a broader team that has put together NERx and focusing on the various aspects of it. And NERx evolved really back in 2020, and that evolved because we were supposed to have a fall convention in 2020, but of course COVID occurred. And like with COVID, there was a lot of bad things that happened with COVID, but there were a few good things that happened with COVID, and NERx was one of them, one of the good things. We had a good virtual convention. We were trying to figure out what we were going to do in place of that fall convention, and we came up with the idea of having this virtual convention. We did that in the fall, and it was very successful. And we thought, well, let's repeat that. Let's do it in the springtime, since we don't have anything to do in the springtime for the Northeastern Region. And believe it or not, until about 2006, the Northeastern Region used to have two conventions a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. So now we had a void there, and we decided, well, let's try putting the virtual convention in the spring time slot and see how successful that is, and give, basically, our membership, and actually it's anybody can watch NERx, but it's to add more value to your membership dollars when you join the NMRA. So we had it in the spring, and now here we are, the sixth time out of the gate, and for 2025.
I remember back, and don't want to spend a whole lot of time going back to those times, but yeah, there was definitely the good and bad. Obviously, the bad of folks getting sick and the folks that we lost during COVID. But as you said, the things that came out of it, the technology that was driven forward that allowed us to do a lot of this virtual stuff, including the podcast that I've used a lot of that virtual technology for. And I'm sure it came just at what was needed for a lot of folks. Because I remember those times, I mean, you couldn't go to a hobby shop, you couldn't get together, we canceled operating sessions, all of that was on hold. So I'm sure, a big welcome to the community to be able to connect even on a virtual level.
Yes, that's right. I mean, it was really, people were, you think of model railroading as a pretty much a social hobby. I mean, there are people that, are loners in the hobby, but there's a lot of people that need that social aspect of it. And it was taken away from you. And all social aspects in society were taken away from you during those COVID days. So having something like this was a nice release, and you felt like you were back in the room with some of your friends that you haven't seen in a long time. So it was a great experience for everybody. And that's why we decided, let's keep doing this, because, not everybody can get to a convention, in-person convention like we have in the fall, or the national conventions that are held. They can't get to there because maybe they have health reasons or their finances or whatever. And this gives them the ability to attend a convention as close as we can get it to being a regional or national type of convention.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how the NERx has evolved from that first time up to the sixth? What are some of the things that have kind of evolved with the show as the years have gone by?
Well, what we've done, we started off by, having the regular types of features like clinics and layout tours. And it's evolved over the last 6 years or six episodes of NERx. And we've kind of settled into a formula today that we have today, where we do still have layout tours. We have 8 great layout tours in the lineup for this event. We have clinics. We have 8 great clinics tied into this. But what we've also added are a couple other features. We have something called tips and tricks, which is really like a clinic, but it's done within a 5 to 15 minute time frame, and it gives the viewer a chance to learn a real quick tip that they can apply. We also have some sponsors. We have this year, we've changed that a little bit this year. This year we've got 4, well, we actually have 5 sponsors, but 4 of the sponsors are giving away 2 $50 gift certificates, and we're going to have a drawing every night for those sponsors, one sponsor each night. And if you're going to participate in the drawings, you have to register all 4 nights. So if you register on Monday, that doesn't mean your name's going to be in the drawing for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So watch it on where we're going to have NERx broadcast, and watch for the links that we provide for that drawing. The other thing that sets us a little bit apart from usually the in-person types of conventions is we've got roundtable discussions. And what we try to do is bring in people that are subject matter experts on the various topics, and we brainstorm what topics we think were going to be interesting for people for each year. And I think we've come up with some good topics for this year. We've got one on RPMs. We've got another one on the whys of 3D printing. We're going to also talk about simulations. You think of flight simulators and train simulators. Well, there's a hobby within the hobby of people that are doing simulations on their computers versus actually modeling physical things. And then we're also going to give you a little bit of an overview of what the in-person convention is going to be in the fall in Concord, New Hampshire in September 11th to 14th. So we'll give you a preview of that, give you a taste of what that's going to be about, because I think it's going to be a really great convention to attend. And we've kind of settled on that format for the last couple NERx episodes.
Let's take a deep dive into some of these topics. Let's start with clinics. You mentioned the clinics. Let's talk about what you're going to be hosting for clinics this year.
Well, we've got 8 great clinics. I'll just go down the list of them. Bruce DeYoung is going to be on our show, and he's going to be talking about railroads and the natural ice industry, and how they have a relationship between the railroads and the ice industry. And you think about it, before we had refrigeration, the only thing mechanical refrigeration, you had ice.
Right.
And so it was a big industry back in the 1800s and 1900s, early 1900s. to have ice to cool all of your produce and things like that. But that ice had to move. So not only was it in your reefers to keep things refrigerated going to market, but you also had to ship the ice to where it was needed too. So there's a big industry on ice. So that'll be a very interesting clinic. David Foster is going to be on the show, and he's going to talk about building a layout in a year. And it's kind of funny, if you attended the Lakeshores convention in Rochester this last fall, he gave a clinic on building a layout in a year. And what was supposed to happen was he was actually supposed to build the layout in a year and then talk about it at the convention. But then what happened is before the convention, he had to take the layout down because he moved. So now he's back building another layout and giving the clinic and giving you some great tips and tricks that he's learned in building that layout. And he was actually one of the recipients of the Op Squad in Rochester, which you had Ed O'Connell on your show a while back, and you talked about the Op Squad, how they go out to the different layouts that people who say, hey, I need help on my design and my layout to see if it's going to function right in operations. Well, David Foster was one of the recipients of their work. So it's kind of neat to touch base with something that you've already had on your show.
Absolutely.
John McHugh he's going to be on the show. He's going to be talking about scratch building a small rural station. And basically it's talking about building it for merit award in the NMRA achievement program. But when you take a step back, it's really about scratch building a small rural station, and it really applies to anybody who's watching the show. John gave a clinic a few years back at an in-person convention on basically the same thing, but for cars. And I was working on the achievement program, and and cars was like that intimidating segment that I was really not sure I was going to be able to do. And I sat in on John's clinic, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing John's clinic on scratch building a small rural station, because I think he does a really good job in breaking it down and making you feel like, yeah, I can do this. And that's what happened with me for cars. Greg Williams is going to be here. He's going to be talking about soldering. He's been soldering for 45 years. So I think he knows something about soldering. And that's usually a topic that's intimidating to a lot of model railroaders when they first get into the hobby. They don't know how to solder. And so I think we're going to be learning a lot of great tips from Greg, and make it feel like you can walk away from seeing his clinic and say, I can do that. Jeff Giroux is going to be on the show. He's going to be talking about plastic rocks from Bragdon's. He's using Joel Bragdon's method of using hard plastic to model the rock details. He didn't want to have heavy plaster versions of rocks on his modules or on his layout. So he discovered this method, and he's been very happy with it. His mountains have been there for over 20 years, and there's no damage and lots of happy viewing, as he says, for his rocks. Scott Goethe is going to be back. He's been on NERx for 3 years that he's been on. He's been giving clinics on railroad signaling primers for modelers, and this is going to be part 4. He's going to be taking a modular approach. So if you have a modular layout, for example, he's going to be talking about how you can add signaling to your modular layout. 2 more that we have. Dennis Colucci is going to be talking about weathering. And this is another intimidating topic. People are a little bit afraid to buy that nice box car or tanker, and you're a little hesitant to do any weathering. So it's always great to learn a few more tips on weathering and maybe take down some of those barriers to actually doing it. And then Peter Bach is going to be on, and he's going to be talking about making foam cradles for transporting your models. What types of materials and where you can get them, and so that you can safely transport your models either to a club or transporting it to a convention or whatever, because a lot of us are transporting some of our models, and you spend a lot of time on them and a lot of money on them, and you don't want to see them damaged. So that's going to be a good clinic as well. So those are the 8 great clinics that we have, and I think we're going to have about since there's 4 nights, we're going to have 2 clinics a night.
A great variety of clinics, and two that really came to note. Dennis Galucci, a good supporter of our podcast, and I've seen his weathering work. He's an award-winning weathering guy, and it's great to see him participating in NERx and sharing his talents. And I'll tell you, personally, I will be making sure to tune into the soldering clinic because although I think I can solder, I could probably do it better. And it's great to have an expert that you can watch and see their techniques and improve upon. It doesn't even have to be learning from the ground up. I'm sure there's a takeaway for everybody.
Right. I mean, I hated soldering when I first got into it. I was intimidated by it. And part of my problem too is I thought I didn't have the best equipment to solder with, but I also didn't know how to take care of it either, which I think is also key. So I think Greg is going to do a great job on that.
Excellent. We'll be looking forward to that. You mentioned some of these roundtables as well, and I know that you can see a list of them if you go to the website, nerx.org. And of course, we'll share all those links on our website, aroundthelayout.com/150. Definitely check out NERx. You can get a little bit more. There's definitely there's great descriptions of these. Another couple familiar names. We've got Dave Owens talking about railroad prototype modelers meets. Dave Owens obviously is from the NERPM fame, and he's been running that for quite a long time. And that's one that's local to me. So it will be great to talk to Dave Owens and see what he's got going on and talk about RPMs. And then our good friend Bernard Helen from Mini Prints and that deep dive into 3D printing. And boy, you can't find a better expert on 3D printing than Dr. Mini himself.
And you've been scanned and I've been scanned. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was a great experience. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to, and his panel, what they're going to be talking about 3D printing.
And I know there's a roundtable about the Concord Flyer. That's the 2025 Northeastern Region Convention in Concord. I know that you're going to do a roundtable and you're going to share some information there, but what can you tell us about it on today's show?
Well, it's still in development, but I'm really excited about the plans that they're making. I mean, they had, a month or two ago, they had 45 clinic slots, and they had all 45 of them already filled, which is really amazing. And so now what they're doing is expanding. They're trying to expand the number of slots and see if they can do that and fill those slots too. So we're really excited about the clinics. They've got a variety of clinics. They're trying to get, focus some of the clinics on the local railroad history, the Boston and Maine and the local railroads up there. So, I mean, they're trying to do that for some of the clinics, but then you're going to have a lot of other clinics. I'm going to be giving a couple clinics there. There's some really good clinics. I'm really excited about seeing them. So it's going to be challenging for me because there's a lot of clinics that I know I'm going to want to see, but there's also some good layouts up there to see as well. We're going to feature 4 of them during NERx, so you'll get a taste for some of those layouts. And I'll just quickly talk about some of them, but the Heritage Park Railroad Museum is a really beautiful layout. It is meticulously researched, and they constructed the layout, so they're scratch building a lot of the structures to make them, the prototype, to look like the prototype, and they're beautifully done. Every photo I see of that layout is just beautifully done. And what's neat is they have automation on that layout. They're using Train Controller, which is a model railroad control system by Frywald Software, and they're using that to operate the layout. So this layout's going to be open during the convention. And another layout that will be open is Chris Oliver. He's modeling the Donner Pass. And this layout, I think, if I remember from what I read, it has 5 levels on part of the layout. And it is very beautiful. And oddly enough, it uses the same software for automation for the train controller software that the Heritage Park Railroad Museum. But it's a very large layout. Moving at scale speeds, trains can require from between 1 to 3 hours to actually complete a run over the whole layout. And it's really built to be a train watcher's paradise, watching the trains go over the very nicely scenic layout. So I'm really excited about. I hope I can get a chance to see Chris's layout. Eric Lalonde is going to have his layout open. That's based on the Union Pacific. That's a beautiful layout. And Bob Meckley, he's modeling the Denver and Rio Grande Western, the narrow gauge layout. And that's also a very beautiful layout to see. So those four, I mean, that's just a taste of what's going to be available to see during the convention. They're working on railroad tours, with the Conway Scenic they're working on. We also want to see the Yankee Flyer is going to be there, so we hopefully will arrange something to go see that. And then there's other museums that they're working on as well. And I think they even have an industrial tour, grain operation to see for the convention. So there's a lot of exciting things to see and do there. And obviously there's the model contest and model displays. You can bring the models in to display, and the banquets and the breakfast and things like that. But it's really the clinics and the layouts and the operating sessions that are kind of like the heart of any convention. And I'm looking forward to going up to Concord. And here you are in September, which, trees are starting to turn colors up there. So it's going to be very beautiful to be up in Concord. So they're really hoping that people will come up early or stay late or both, have a little bit of a vacation in the beginning or after the convention while you're up there, because there's a lot to see and do up in that area.
Well, that's excellent. We know the NER does a great job with their regional conventions, and I'm sure the Concord Flyer is not going to disappoint. Again, that's going to be September 11th through the 14th, and we'll stay tuned for more information on that, and we'll look forward to that. But getting back to what's going to be happening here very soon, that'll be Monday, March 17th through Thursday, March 20th. That's the NERx, the Northeastern Region's virtual convention. And another thing that you mentioned, part of the in-person convention is also part of the virtual convention, which is layout tours. And when I pull it up here on your website, nerx.org, I see a very familiar name right at the top of the list here.
You're talking about Bruce Ryan.
I am.
Yeah, well, Bruce was on your show, I think last year, talking about his Manhattan Terminal Railroad. And I think in our conversation before the show, I think you actually operated on his layout. It's a really nice switching layout. Bruce grew up in Manhattan, had an interest in rail marine operations, and now he's got a nice, beautiful shelf layout that represents Manhattan and the marine operations that were there in Manhattan. So it's a great looking layout. I think it'll be a lot of fun to see during NERx to see trains running on a switching layout, because there's not too many of them out there, and most of them are large layouts that are going through scenic vistas. But having something that's in the city and tight switching layouts is always kind of enjoyable to see, because it's not as popular as some of these other larger layouts that you see in terms of style. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I did get an opportunity to operate Bruce Ryan's Manhattan Terminal Railroad and had an absolute blast. It was just Bruce and I, and we worked as a conductor engineer and brought a train down, did some switching on that layout. I'm looking forward to getting back to that layout very soon, perhaps during the Ops You Drop event for the Central New York division of the NMRA puts on. So I'm looking forward to that in April. But until then, I'll be able to tune in and watch the virtual tour of it and have some memories of it, and maybe even see some parts of the layout I didn't even get to see while I was there visiting.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that's kind of funny. When you operate, you don't really get a chance to take in the whole layout. You're so busy trying to move your cars and do the work that's required. So you don't really get to, often you don't get to really take in what the layout looks like. You don't get to see everything.
Absolutely. And then another familiar name, speaking of the Central New York group, is Ed O'Rourke, who recently moved and has rebuilt his New Haven Railroad.
Yeah, it's in process. He's been making a lot of progress on his layout, more progress than I've been making on mine, it seems. But he's a big New Haven modeler. So his old layout was the New Haven, and the new one is obviously the New Haven. He's in a new home, and so he's building it, and eventually it'll have an electrified zone where it'll have catenary on the layout. but he still has a lot of work to do before he starts installing that, because the last thing you want to do is get your hands in there and still be doing scenery and stuff and knock all those wires down. So he's really working hard on that. It's going to be modeling the area around the New Haven station in the early 1950s. He's going to be having mainline passenger trains exchange electric motors for steam or diesel in the New Haven area. And so it's really going to be interesting to see it. It's only about 10% complete at the present, which is kind of nice. For a lot of people, they want to see a finished layout or near completion, but it also gives you an opportunity to see something that isn't complete, and you can see how things are put together. So hopefully there's an opportunity. He'll show you some of that in the layout tour, but it's really going to be, I think, a nice layout. He does a nice job with his structures and scenery, and he's designing it for operations. He's got a whole team up there of guys that are all into operations. So they're making sure it's going to be a layout that is ready for operations. And I think it will be, Ed's trying to have that open for the opportunity to drop session, I think, in April as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I definitely agree with that premise. An unfinished layout is kind of like an autopsy. You get to kind of see the guts, right? It's not all covered up with the skin of scenery. You get to see how it went together, and boy, you can learn a lot from that. Yes,
you can.
Excellent. We'll talk about some of the other layout tours that we can look forward to.
Well, there's two that I haven't touched on. Jim Fairbanks, he has the Lake Ontario Shore Railroad, which is also called the Hojak Line, which was, the Hojak Line became part of the New York Central Rochester division, and he models the Hojak from Oswego to Webster before the Penn Central merger in 1968. And his layout was open during the NER convention in Rochester last year, but I didn't get a chance to see it. So I'm really excited about it, because now I'll actually get a chance to see Jim's layout. And Jim actually has two layouts. He has the one in Rochester, but then he's a snowbird. He goes down, I think, to the southwest. I think it's Arizona, and he has another layout down there that he works on in the winter months. So it'll be fun to see this layout because it really looked like a nice layout to see. And the other one is the Garden State Model Railroad Club, which is literally over the hill from where I live in northern New Jersey. This club has been around for a long time, and there used to be an O-scale club next door, literally next door. They're in a shopping center, and the O-scale club was next door, but they had lost memberships over the years, and they only had a couple members left, and it became financially difficult to stay there. So they actually closed their layout down, and the HO Scale Club, the Garden State Model Railroad Club, they now moved it. They have that space now too, so they're keeping their old layout, but they're building a new layout using new technology, new ideas. I mean, they're really using the latest technology, including LCC, and also the latest ideas in layout design. So it's really sparked a lot of energy in the club. I think they have in their bylaws or their constitution that they can have a maximum of 60 members, and they've got 60 members. Wow. And they're all very active. And you're going to get a chance to see some of those members during the layout tour, because they're going to talk about some of the parts of the old layout, and they're going to keep that layout and keep it running, and they're keep modifying that layout. But they're also going to show you parts of the new layout, the design and being built and stuff like that. So it's going to be really, they did a really nice job in showcasing what their layout's all about, both layouts.
Let's talk about the model showcase. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect there.
Well, the model showcase, in our first NERx episode, we actually had a model and photo contest. And, it wasn't really, the contest like you have in person, where you can actually, the people evaluating the models can look really close at the models and see everything. Instead, we were sending in a lot of photos for modeler, or for the people that were evaluating to look at. And that was the first time. That was NERx, the first round. And then we thought, well, let's make it a little more approachable. Let's make it, a little more fun, and just have all of the viewers, our modelers, or people in the Northeastern region send in photos of whatever they're working on the workbench. And it doesn't need to be a complete model. It can be something that's in process, or it can be a completed model. It can also be photos that they've taken of prototypes. And so we get a wide variety of photos of models from O scale to N scale and actually we had 1 year somebody had from their outdoor live steam cars and things like that. So these are big models, and so it was really fun to see some of those things. And you get a wide variety of structures in both the residential and industrial types of structures. Just beautiful models that we like to show. And so what I do is I try to, when the photos come in, I try to divide them up over all 4 nights. So you're going to get a chance to see a variety of models all 4 nights. And I think what I've slotted is about a 4-minute video for each of the nights. So you're going to get a chance to see quite a few models this year. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with the viewers.
Excellent, excellent. And we know we want folks tuning in Monday, March 17th through Thursday, March 20th. And again, all the information on the website, NERx.org. And again, we'll share that link at aroundthelayout.com/150, along with some other related links to the episode today, where we're talking about the NERx, the Northeastern Region of the NMRA's virtual convention. Now, if I had missed any part of any of the past years, how would I go back and get to watch all of those clinics?
Well, you can go, I think, to the NMRA YouTube channel. It's at NMRA Online. That's the YouTube channel for the NMRA. And all of the NERx videos are there. You can go back and look and watch all of them. And I think also if you go to the NERx.org website, you can look in the archive, and if you go into the archive, I think there are live links there that will take you to the various clinics or layout tours. And they're I believe they're very specific to what you can watch. Versus if you go to the NMRA's YouTube channel, you're going to have day one of last year's NERx convention, so you're going to have to watch the whole thing. Whereas I think on our archives, we actually have a link that takes you to a specific layout tour, model showcase, clinic, tips and tricks, or even a roundtable discussion. So you can go back to the archives and by year, and I think you can find those links there.
Yeah, I'm actually on the website right now, and I looked up, and sure enough, past events, and I clicked there, and there's an entire menu. And then when I open it, exactly what you said, there's links right to the clinics and layout tours and roundtable discussions right here on the NERx website. So great job. You guys have done an excellent job of not only sharing the current information, but the past information and connecting people virtually for all those great reasons that you mentioned, getting people that may not be able to attend a convention in person, or just the ability to connect anytime is always good and be able to share information. And I'm sure these kind of projects don't happen without the support of your sponsors.
Right. I mean, we do have some great sponsors this year. We have Bernard Helen from Mini Prints. He's going to be here. Bernard has been with us nearly from the beginning. I think our second NERx, he asked if we needed any sponsors, and we said, sure, come on board. And so we were very happy to have Mini Prints with us. And Interaction Hobbies, I think, joined us the following year. Daryl Jacobs, and then Mind Mount Models and Tony's Train Exchange are new for this year. And obviously, you've been sponsoring us as well and supporting us by getting the word out about NERx. But those four are giving away two $50 gift certificates for each night. And so what we're going to do is one night is going to be the first night. I think we have Mind Mount Models on Monday. On Tuesday, it'll be Mini Prints. On Wednesday, it'll be Interaction Hobbies. And on Thursday, it'll be Tony's Train Exchange. And at 10 o'clock Eastern time, we're going to have a drawing. And to enter that drawing, we're going to provide a link. If you when you're in YouTube and you open up the live feed, and in the description for the live feed, there'll be a link there to register for the drawing. We'll also post the link in the Facebook page for anybody who's watching on Facebook. So you have to get your name in before 9:30 that night, and then at 10 o'clock we'll do the drawing. And the other key thing is, if you registered on Monday, Doesn't mean you're in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You have to register for each drawing every day. So we'll open up a new drawing on Monday, and then Tuesday we'll open up a new drawing, and then Wednesday and Thursday we'll also open up new drawings. So you have to watch and get in there to win. Because the two $50 gift certificates, they will be really good. All four of them have some great products, and I think most viewers are familiar with all four of them. So I'm really excited to have them as sponsors, and I think that helps bring in more viewers because they hear about NERx through them, and they're also very familiar with all of these manufacturers.
With all the information that you're going to get from NERx, plus all the opportunities to see these layouts and participate and see the roundtable discussions, and then on top of that, be able to win prizes every night, that's definitely win-win in my book.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It makes it a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, Chuck, want to thank you for coming on Around the Layout and telling us more about NERx, the virtual convention happening Monday, March 17th through Thursday, March 20th. Again, NERx.org, or check out our website, aroundthelayout.com/150. You'll find the link to NERx, plus a whole bunch of other links of the things that were mentioned today on this show. So, Chuck, thanks again for stopping by and telling us all about NERx.
Well, thank you, Ray. It was great to be here.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Around the Layout. Learn more about today's episode, check out past shows, and much more on our website, aroundthelayout.com. Show your support by becoming an operating crew member at aroundthelayout.com/crew. Follow us on social media, aroundthelayout.com/social. And send us your feedback, aroundthelayout@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with us around the layout.